Hello everyone, I'm in Honolulu and today I'm flying to Tokyo on a Honu in first class. Today, you'll see ANA's Honolulu Suite Lounge, exclusive to first class passengers with direct boarding to the aircraft. On board, see the large first class seats both in the daytime and nighttime bedding configurations. Enjoy a 3-course meal. See the onboard amenities. Have another meal before making a crosswind landing to Tokyo Narita. To take this flight, I redeemed 330,000 United miles plus $11 in fees for 2 first-class seats. I was celebrating my friend Rick's recent retirement in Hawaii. Rick, an aviation enthusiast like me, wanted to take his first A380 flight in style. For a new Hawaiian AvGeek resident, there is no better plane to check off a first A380 ride than the iconic Flying Honu. We arrived at Honolulu International Airport's Terminal 2 a bit after 8 a.m. There was already a line at the ticket counter, which opens 3 hours before departure at 8:30 a.m. We wanted to get to the airport early in order to enjoy ANA's Suite Lounge, which also opened at 8:30. ANA has 3 flights to Tokyo, with the 2 flights to Narita operated by the A380. Because you know, the Japanese love Hawaii. Walking to the sea gates, we get our first glimpse of our Flying Honu, painted in sunset orange named La. Aircraft JA383 Alpha was delivered to ANA in October 2021 and was the third of 3 Flying Honus in the ANA fleet. ANA A380s fly only between Tokyo Narita and Honolulu, with each flight averaging 8 hours, flying 2 flights a day using 3 airplanes. It is quite a poor aircraft utilization rate. On board, there's a total of 520 seats across 2 decks. On the upper deck, there are 8 first-class seats, 56 business-class seats, and 73 premium economy seats. On the lower deck is all economy with 383 seats. Gate C4 is dedicated to the A380 having 3 jet bridges, with 2 to the lower level and 1 to the upper level. Nominally, boarding for economy is from the main terminal level, while first and business class board directly from the lounge located 1 level above. Upon entering the lounge, we were greeted by friendly receptionists. Signs on the desk indicate the aircraft color used on the 2 flights today. There are 2 lounges here. Business class uses the main ANA lounge on the left. This is also a Star Alliance Gold Lounge, while first class and ANA Diamond status members use the ANA Suite Lounge on the right. Even though the Suite Lounge is in an intimate space, there is plenty of room with wide, comfortable seats. The unique feature here, of course, is direct boarding to the aircraft. We see the red carpet leading to the boarding door here.
They're plushies. This is the big plushie.
And if you're a fan of the Honu like Rick, souvenirs that you can buy on board are on display here. One drawback with the Suite Lounge is that there are no windows here. Of course, no one will prevent you from going down to the business class lounge. In the huge main lounge area, the space is distinctively designed as under the banyan tree, with expansive windows looking out to the airport. We got to the window just in time to see the arrival of the second Honu. There are two buffets in the main lounge. Selections are mostly the same between the two lounges. There's also a do-it-yourself noodle bar here, while in the suite lounge, it is made to order from the counter. The bar here is busier since it has to serve a lot more people. This lounge also has direct boarding to the aircraft. We see the entry here for both business class and premium economy passengers. First class door is at the end of this entryway and enter the boarding corridor through the same doorway. There is quite a lot of space in this lounge. There's a whole back area that went unused. There's a kids' play area that also went unused. And there's a hidden snack bar back here, which I think is supposed to serve ice cream. Boarding began 30 minutes before departure. It was a quiet, non-stressful, non-event for those of us that use the suite lounge. At the left, you can see the line of people waiting to board in business class. Hello, good morning. We turn left to the first class cabin. There are only 8 seats here, 2 rows arranging 1-2-1 configuration. On this day, there were only 5 passengers in first class, including me and Rick. The lead flight attendant greeted me by name, introduced herself, and quickly unbundled the onboard wearables and slippers as a welcome gesture. There was a sweater, pajamas, and a day blanket. I made use of my sweater, though it was not really needed because temperature in the cabin was actually quite warm. Rick had the honor of taking the prestigious seat 1A, since after all, we were celebrating his retirement, while I took up the seat behind in 2A. Incidentally, seat 1A was blocked when I made the reservation. It did not open up until check-in, so if you really want seat 1A, wait until check-in and you may still get it. Flight attendant later returned with a basket of amenities such as toothbrush, earplugs, etc. Most of the stuff were duplicates of the stuff that were already in the amenity kit. Next to the seat is a tethered remote control, seat controls, and plenty of slots for storage. There are also bins under the window for even more storage.
Here is your vanity mirror.
There's a vanity mirror next to the seat, and there's a closet, but the door to my closet was broken. It is extremely difficult to photograph out of the window from the A380 upper deck because of the wide air gap between the inner and outer windows and the extreme angle. And raindrops made photography impossible. So sorry for the out-of-focus picture, but you can hear how quiet the engines are even during takeoff.
Thank you for waiting, dear passengers. We are now ready for takeoff. Please fasten your seatbelt tight down low. Thank you.
After lumbering off runway 8 right, the reef runway, with Waikiki off our left, we made a wide turn westward to Japan. Lunch service began immediately. Flight attendant invited me and Rick to have lunch at the unoccupied center seats so we can have our meal together, which was a nice gesture. For my drink, I went with my favorite go-to ANA beverage, kabasu, a Japanese citrus drink. I thought the smoked salmon was the best item in the amuse-bouche. For appetizer, our flight attendant recommended the caviar, which was served with creamy crab and celeriac roasty, which was that waffle-looking thing. I normally don't have caviar, so I can't say whether it was good or not. A choice of soup or salad followed. I had the corn soup, which is such a standard Asian fare, simple yet comforting. It was served hot, which I loved. For the main dish, there was choice of prime beef steak or sauté snapper. Here was Rick's steak. It was nicely cooked to medium and reportedly delicious. And my snapper. Disappointingly, it was tough and the meat was dense. The onion and soy citrus sauce was good and had to help along the tough fish. The vegetables, broccolini and squash strips tasted fresh. For dessert, Rick went with a simple ice cream, while I went with the local Hawaiian flavor, taro cake and ice cream. Flight attendants gave the dish a nice aviation touch. I loved the pistachios. The Americano gave a nice finish to the delicious dessert, the best part of the meal. While I was finishing up dessert, flight attendant asked if I wanted to take a rest so she could make up my bed. Yes, please. Bedding consisted of a thin mattress pad, comforter, and a pillow. This was in addition to the day pillow and day blanket, which were on the seat before takeoff. And there was a door. But you expected that, right? In the meantime, I went to the lavatory to change into my pajamas. The lavatory was kept spotless and cleaned every time after someone used it. There was a changing area with a flip-down stool so you don't have to put your feet on the potentially dirty bathroom floor. The toilet had the bidet, of course. And the amenity drawers were filled. And it's time for bed.
Actually have them cleaned and pressed for you.
Okay, I really didn't take a nap. After breaking out the headphones to watch Doraemon, I noticed ANA provided the fancy Sony noise-canceling headphones. Nice! I also tried to use Wi-Fi, which was free for first and business class passengers. Service was very intermittent, however. When it worked, I got 2.0 to 2.7 megabits per second downlink and half megabits per second uplink. That was very usable speed, but service coverage was spotty. The first class snack bar, while nicely embellished, had only a few items to choose from and no self-service beverages. With 90 minutes to go, flight attendant asked if I would like to have lunch, again, before arrival. If I was hungrier, I probably would have gone with the curry or ramen, but instead, I went with a fruit plate and barbecue pork sliders. Even for the pre-arrival meal, there was still the high ceremony of tablecloth and utensils placed individually on the table. I was quite impressed. You cannot tell in this photo, but I was having lunch in bed. Seat was still in the fully flat mode. The presentation on these simple dishes was superb. The pulled pork slider, while looked simple, was delicious. The meat was authentic. Think it was Koula pork. Take a look at the fancy plating of cut fruit inside a hollowed-out orange. As we approached Japan, we caught the tail end of a passing storm. There was light to moderate turbulence throughout. Half-hour before landing, flight attendant returned with a couple parting drinks, which I did not expect. Cut fruit in sparkling water was very refreshing, and the matcha was invigorating. And that little wooden plane? It was a surprising and delightful gift.
Please return your seat, tape, footrest, and buttons to the original position. Please place your baggage in the overhead compartment or under the seat in front of you.
We said goodbye to the sunshine and descended into the rainstorm. As you will see, we made an exciting crosswind landing on runway 34 left.
ト着用サインが消えるまでシートベルトを腰の低い位置で緩みのないようお締めください。また物入れを開けたときに Dear passengers, we have landed at Narita International Airport. The local time in Narita is 2:49 p.m. October 7th. Please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened tight and low until the captain turns off the seatbelt sign. Take care when opening the overhead compartment as baggage may fall out. From now on, you can use electronic devices that emit radio waves. However, please refrain from talking on cell phones out of consideration for other passengers. This flight will be arriving at gate number 54 of Terminal 1. Passengers connected domestic flights should pick up their checked baggage at this airport and check it in at the domestic. How was your flight with Flying Honu? Tea-time tours are called Honu in Hawaiian, and Honu is handed down as a guardian god carrying happiness. Flying Honu has enjoyed having you on board and hopes to see you again in your future. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you. が皆様の安全のためベルト着用サインが消えるまでお座りのままお待ちください。なおベルト着用サインが消えた後、客室乗務員は安全業務を行います。恐れ入りますが、お手伝いが必要な方は後ほどお知らせください。またお降りの際はファーストクラス、ビジネスクラスのお客様から順にご案内いたします。ご協力をお願いいたします。The aircraft will come to a stop in a moment. For your safety, please remain seated until the captain turns off the seatbelt sign. Cabin attendants will conduct safety duties after the seatbelt sign is turned off. If you need...
As I made my exit, I gave my Honu a high five goodbye. As first-class passengers, we were given fast-track coupons which allowed us to bypass the long queue at passport control, which was a huge time saver. And at the baggage claim, my bag was already out and waiting for me in the first-class pile. Nice! I hope you enjoyed my flight on the Flying Honu. To see my flight on the most extravagant A380 ever in the Etihad residence, follow the link here.